I don't know exactly when it happened, but somewhere along the line, my marriage with Mike went from passionate and exciting to nothing. I remember the early days. The way he would look at me. The way we'd spend weekends laughing, kissing, and talking about everything and nothing. But over time, things changed. It wasn't that there was a big fight or a huge betrayal. It was just small, gradual shifts. The spark faded, the attention disappeared, and the loneliness crept in, quietly but steadily. Mike used to be so attentive. We'd spend our evenings talking about our day, and I'd always feel like he cared. But eventually, work became his excuse. His 9-to-5 job turned into 10, 12, sometimes 14-hour days, and when he came home, he was tired. Too tired for me, it felt like. Too tired for us. I started to feel invisible, like I was just a background detail in his life. He was physically there, but emotionally, he wasn't. And the worst part, I didn't know how to make him notice me again. I didn't know how to reach him. I tried everything. Making special dinners, planning date nights, even dressing up like I used to when we first met. But nothing worked. It was as if I was just going through the motions of being a wife, but without the connection we once had. The intimacy that had been so effortless and beautiful in the beginning had become a distant memory. We were roommates, not lovers. And so, I found myself craving attention, affection, someone who would see me. I wasn't looking for a full-on affair at first. It just started as a few late-night texts with someone from work. Someone who noticed me. It wasn't anything serious. Just casual conversations that were easy, light-hearted, and, for the first time in a long while, fun. It felt harmless. But the more we talked, the more I found myself drawn to him. His name was Alex, and he was charming in a way that I hadn't realized I missed. He had a way of making me feel seen, heard. He wasn't just asking about my day, he was interested. He remembered things I said weeks ago. He noticed when I sounded tired or frustrated. The attention felt intoxicating. With Mike, everything was routine. But with Alex, every conversation was fresh, exciting, and full of possibility. I told myself it wasn't anything serious, just a harmless way to fill the void. It wasn't like I was looking to cheat. But soon enough, harmless turned into something else. It started with a flirtatious joke here and there, a little teasing, until one night, after a particularly long week with Mike, I found myself texting Alex something I never thought I'd say. Do you ever get lonely? I feel like I've forgotten what it's like to feel wanted. I didn't expect anything to come of it, but that night, Alex asked me to meet him. I hesitated. My heart raced, but I felt this rush of excitement at the idea. Was I really going to do this? Was I really going to meet someone outside of my marriage? But then again, what did it matter? Mike didn't care about me anymore. I was just a background character in his life. I was nothing more than a wife, a title I wore but didn't feel. I made the decision. I told myself it wasn't going to be a big deal. One night. One small, selfish escape. What could it hurt? I convinced myself that this was just a temporary thing. I wasn't going to leave Mike. I didn't want to ruin my life. But I needed to feel something. The night I met Alex was a blur of adrenaline. I told Mike I was going out with friends. I didn't lie exactly. I just didn't tell him where I was going. When I walked into the hotel room where Alex was waiting for me, my heart was pounding in my chest. The air felt charged with anticipation. I could hear my thoughts spinning in circles. But at the same time, I couldn't help but feel alive in a way I hadn't in so long. Alex smiled when he saw me, his eyes lighting up in a way that made me feel like I was the only person in the world. He kissed me, and it was like a spark ignited in me. The world outside this moment ceased to exist. I didn't know how long we were there. Hours, maybe. We talked, we laughed, we kissed, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt seen again. I wasn't just someone's wife. I was me, with desires, with needs, with wants. And for that night, Alex was the person who gave me all of that. But as I lay there afterward, a part of me was already filled with guilt. I loved Mike, at least. I used to. But I didn't know how to fix what had been broken. In that moment, Alex was the escape, the relief from a life that had become suffocating. But what did it mean? Was I still a good person for doing this? I couldn't answer that. I didn't know how to explain to myself why I needed this, but I knew I wanted more of it. I wanted more of Alex, more of that feeling of being seen, being desired, being more than just a wife. The next few days were filled with a strange mix of excitement and anxiety. I couldn't stop thinking about Alex, but at the same time, I felt a knot of dread in my stomach whenever I looked at Mike. He didn't know. He had no idea what was happening, and part of me felt like I was living a double life. One where I was still his wife, and one where I was someone else entirely. I started to make excuses to spend time away from Mike. Another late night, work event. Another weekend with friends. I started texting Alex more frequently, organizing secret meetings whenever I could. But the more I saw him, the more I felt like I was slipping away from my marriage, from everything that had once meant something to me. But at the same time, I felt like I was coming alive again. And I couldn't stop myself. And then, one day, as if the universe had been waiting for me to slip up, I received a text from Alex that changed everything. It was a simple message, one that I would never have imagined would be the beginning of the end. "I think your husband knows." After Alex's text, everything changed. The feeling of being caught. The rush of knowing I was living a lie intensified with each passing day, but in a strange way, it made me feel even more alive. I remember sitting at the kitchen table, staring at my phone after reading that message, my heart pounding in my chest. "I think your husband knows," he had written, and for a moment I was paralyzed with fear. But then, almost instantly, I decided that nothing would stop me. I had already crossed a line, and I couldn't go back now. I couldn't shake the thoughts of Alex. I thought about him constantly, about his voice, the way he made me feel when we texted late into the night. Our conversations were different from anything I had with Mike. It wasn't just about work or the mundane details of our lives. It was about who we were, what we wanted. He made me feel alive, like I mattered, like I wasn't just existing in my marriage, but actually living. We started texting more often. At first, it was harmless enough, flirty comments, teasing, a few personal questions here and there. But it wasn't long before the messages became deeper, more personal, more intimate. "You're always so busy with Mike?" Alex would write, "But I don't think he knows the real you. The one I'm getting to know." And I would respond, feeling a flutter of excitement each time, as if it was a secret between us, something precious. "You're the first person who's really seen me in a long time." I wrote back one evening, my fingers trembling slightly as I typed. "It's like I'm invisible to everyone else, even my own husband." That night, after another one of those long, lonely evenings with Mike, I finally made the decision. I agreed to meet Alex. It was late, too late really. But the adrenaline was so strong I could barely think straight. I told Mike I was going out with friends. He didn't ask where or what for, he just waved me off, distracted by his own work. I arrived at the hotel where Alex was staying, an upscale place not far from our apartment. I had never been to this part of town before, and for a moment, I felt a pang of guilt, but it quickly disappeared. I was doing this, I was going to meet him. I walked into the hotel lobby, my heart racing. I wasn't sure what to expect, but part of me didn't care. I wanted to feel something, anything, that would make me forget about the numbness of my marriage. When I saw him, I felt a rush. Alex was standing near the elevator, wearing a simple black t-shirt and jeans, looking so casual, yet so effortlessly attractive. He smiled when he saw me, and for a moment, I thought I might melt. "You came?" he said, his voice soft but confident. I wasn't sure at first. I admitted, my voice almost a whisper. "But now that I'm here, I don't want to leave." He laughed lightly, a sound that made my pulse quicken. "I'm glad," he said, stepping closer. "I'm glad you came." It wasn't like anything I'd expected. There was no awkwardness. There was no tension. It felt right, like I had known him for years. We went up to his room, and I felt that familiar rush of nerves, mixed with anticipation. The door closed behind us, and for a moment, we just stood there, looking at each other. It was surreal. I was in a hotel room with a man who wasn't my husband, a man who was making me feel things I hadn't felt in years. I had no idea what was going to happen, but I knew this. I wasn't thinking about Mike, about the life I had at home, about the years of routine and neglect. "Do you ever feel like you've been invisible for too long?" I asked, my voice trembling. Alex looked at me for a long moment before answering, and then, without saying a word, he pulled me closer, kissing me softly at first, then deeper. It was as if the kiss unlocked something inside me, something I had locked away for too long. We spent the next few hours talking, laughing, and kissing. It was more than just physical, it was emotional, too. For the first time in years, I felt like I was seen again. I wasn't just a wife, a housekeeper, a background character in someone else's life. I was a woman who mattered. The way Alex looked at me, the way he touched me, made me feel like I was everything he wanted. He wasn't rushing, wasn't treating me like an object. He was slow, careful, and made me feel like I was the most important person in the world. "I've never felt like this before," I admitted, my voice soft, almost unsure of what I was saying. "I don't know how to explain it." Alex smiled, brushing a strand of hair out of my face. "I get it. You don't have to explain. Just be here with me." And for that night I was. We talked about our lives, our dreams, and the things we longed for. He made me feel alive in a way Mike never had. As the night wore on, I began to realize something that both terrified and exhilarated me. I wasn't just looking for a distraction anymore. I wasn't just looking for an escape. I was beginning to fall for him. We saw each other often after that first meeting, more than I had expected, actually. At first, it was a few times a week, but soon it turned into something more. It wasn't just the physical attraction, it was the emotional connection that I couldn't ignore. When I was with him, I felt wanted, desired, needed. When I was with Mike, I felt empty. Alex became my escape. He was everything I had been missing for so long. I was consumed by him, in the best way. I found myself thinking about him constantly, even when I was with Mike. I could see him everywhere, hear his voice in my head, feel the touch of his hand. The longing was unbearable. And then, one night, as we lay together in his bed, I whispered something I never thought I would say. "I'm starting to fall for you," I admitted, my heart beating faster as the words left my lips. "I don't know what to do about it, but it's happening." Alex looked at me, his eyes soft and understanding. He didn't respond immediately, but when he did, it was with a tenderness that made my heart ache. "I'm falling for you too," he said, brushing a finger along my cheek. "But I want you to be sure. I want you to know what this is before it goes any further." I wasn't sure what I wanted, but one thing was clear: I was no longer the woman I was before. I had crossed a line, and now, I didn't know how to go back. I should have known it would happen eventually. It's funny how we always think we can hide things, bury them deep enough so that no one will ever find out. But somewhere inside, I think I always knew it was only a matter of time before Mike would discover the truth. The guilt had been gnawing at me for weeks, but it wasn't the guilt that scared me. It was the fear of being caught. It all started with a simple, careless mistake. I left my phone unlocked on the kitchen counter one evening while I was in the bathroom. I never thought Mike would snoop. I didn't think he'd have any reason to. But I was wrong. When I came back, I found him standing there, holding my phone in his hand, his expression unreadable. The moment I saw it, my stomach dropped. My heart pounded in my chest. He'd seen everything: the texts, the flirty messages, the plans to meet up with Alex. My worst fear had come true. He knew. Mike didn't confront me immediately. Instead, he went quiet. He was the type of person who wouldn't yell or scream. He'd just get cold. So cold that it would freeze everything between us. That's what I felt when I saw him. The air was thick with tension, and I knew he was processing everything in his mind, calculating what to do next. The next few days were hell. Mike barely spoke to me. When he did, his voice was stiff, distant. I could feel him pulling away, though he never came out and said what he knew. It was like he was giving me a chance to confess, to explain. But I didn't know how to explain myself. How could I? He didn't say anything about the affair. He didn't shout or demand answers. But then, I found out what he was doing. I had no idea how, but somehow he had figured out where Alex and I had been meeting. He knew the hotel. And I guess, in his mind, he was going to take matters into his own hands. That afternoon, when I was supposed to meet Alex, I received a message from him, not Alex but from Mike. "I know where you are going. Don't bother. I'm already here." The message sent a wave of panic through me. I couldn't breathe. I could feel my chest tightening as I realized what was happening. Mike had gone to the hotel first, and now I was trapped, stuck between two worlds, neither of which had a place for me anymore. I was supposed to meet Alex in an hour. Instead, I rushed to the hotel, unsure of what I would find. My mind was a mess. I told myself I would explain, that I would apologize, but how could I? What could I possibly say to make this right? When I arrived at the hotel, everything was a blur. The lobby was quiet, the kind of silence that makes everything seem more intense, like something heavy was about to happen. I walked to the elevator, my mind racing. I wasn't sure if I was more terrified of Mike finding out what had been happening or the idea of losing Alex, who had come to mean so much to me. I was almost to the room when I saw him. Mike. He was standing there, by the door to Alex's suite, his back turned to me. His posture was rigid, his hands clenched at his sides. He looked like a man who had made a decision. A decision I didn't know how to undo. I froze for a second, my heart in my throat. I couldn't believe what was happening. He wasn't supposed to be here. But then, the reality hit me hard. The man I had betrayed was standing in front of me. And the affair, the lies, everything was laid bare. Mike turned slowly as I approached, his eyes locking onto mine. There was no anger in his eyes, not at first. Just this deep, guttural pain. His voice was icy, controlled. "I should have known," he said, the words sharp like glass. "You think I wouldn't find out? You really thought I wouldn't notice?" I stood there, paralyzed, unsure of what to say. His words cut through me like a knife, but I knew I couldn't make excuses anymore. I couldn't hide behind the lies I'd been telling myself. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. "You thought you could just go on, didn't you?" he continued, his voice growing more bitter. "That I wouldn't care. That I wouldn't see you slipping away. That I wouldn't notice you disappearing." I finally managed to find my voice, though it trembled. "Mike. I didn't want this. I didn't plan for any of this to happen. Didn't plan." He gave a harsh laugh, shaking his head. "What do you think this is? A mistake? This isn't a mistake, this is you choosing. Choosing someone else over our marriage, over everything we built." His words hit harder than I expected. They weren't just accusations, they were the truth. And in that moment, I realized how much damage I had done, how much I had destroyed without even fully understanding it. "I never meant for things to go this far," I said quietly, my voice breaking. I just wanted to feel something again. I've been so alone, Mike. I felt invisible. I felt like you didn't see me anymore. I wasn't asking for this. I wasn't asking for him. I just wanted to feel alive again." Mike's eyes were cold, but there was something in them, something dark. He took a step closer, his voice low and firm. "You've destroyed everything, Anna. Everything. Do you know what this means? Do you understand the choice you've made? You can't just walk away from this." "I know," I whispered. "I know I can't." "Then why? Why did you do this? Why did you throw away everything we had?" he demanded. I wanted to tell him. I wanted to explain. But how do you explain that you've been starving for affection? For attention? For something? Anything? That makes you feel like you matter? How do you tell your husband, the man you once loved, that you don't even recognize yourself anymore, that you've lost your way? I didn't know what else to do. I said, my voice small now. "I didn't think you'd notice, Mike. I didn't think you would care. You were so busy with everything else. I just needed to feel something." Mike stood there for a long time, silent. His eyes searched my face, and in them, I saw the hurt. I saw the betrayal. I saw everything I had ruined. Finally, he spoke, his voice hoarse. "I never thought you were capable of this, Anna. I never thought you would destroy us. I'm not sure I can forgive you." His words echoed in my mind as I stood there, helpless. And in that moment, everything I had been trying to avoid, everything I had been running from, came crashing down. The silence in the hotel room was suffocating. After Mike's words, everything seemed to freeze. Like the world around us had come to a halt. His voice, once so familiar, was now cutting through me like a blade. It felt as though everything I had tried to avoid was crashing down at once. The truth was out there, laid bare, and I couldn't take it back. There was no running anymore. No hiding. I had no idea what to say. I wanted to scream, to beg for forgiveness, to explain myself. But what could I possibly say that would make it better? What could I say to fix the mess I had created? Mike was standing there, so still, his jaw clenched, his eyes cold. His gaze was full of pain, but also something else, something I couldn't quite read. Disbelief, maybe. How could he ever look at me the same way again after what I had done? The woman he loved, the woman he thought he knew, had betrayed him in the worst possible way. He broke the silence, his voice quieter now, but still full of emotion. "You never once came to me, Anna. Never once tried to talk about this. You just ran away. You ran to someone else because you thought I wouldn't notice, because you thought you could hide your feelings from me. How could you do this to us?" His words were like punches, landing one after another. I wanted to explain myself, to tell him how lonely I had been, how disconnected I felt, how desperate I was for someone to see me, to make me feel something. But instead, I just stood there, my hands trembling, my chest tight with guilt. "I didn't mean for this to happen. Mike," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't want to lose you. But I felt lost. I felt like you didn't see me anymore. You were so wrapped up in work, and I was just here waiting for you to notice me, for us to talk." I swallowed hard, trying to keep my emotions in check. I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't know how to make you see how much I was drowning. Mike shook his head slowly, his expression a mix of confusion and disbelief. You could have told me. You could have come to me. You didn't have to go to him. His voice cracked, and for the first time, I saw it. The real hurt in his eyes. You could have told me you were unhappy. You didn't have to destroy us. I felt the weight of his words like a ton of bricks, pressing down on me. I had destroyed everything. I had destroyed him, destroyed us. And now, there was no going back. There was no way to erase what I had done. I couldn't undo the hurt I had caused. Mike, I'm so sorry, I said, my voice breaking. I never meant for this to happen. I never meant to hurt you. I thought I could find something, anything, to make me feel alive again. I thought if I didn't, I would lose myself completely. I didn't think about the consequences. I didn't think. You never thought? Mike said, his tone flat, devoid of emotion. You never thought about me. You never thought about us. You just let it happen. He stepped back, shaking his head. I can't do this anymore, Anna. I can't be with someone who doesn't trust me enough to talk, someone who would rather keep secrets than face the truth. I felt like I was suffocating. The room seemed to close in on me. The weight of his words, the finality of them. It was too much. My heart was breaking, but I couldn't change what had already been done. I know, I whispered, my voice barely audible. I know I've lost you. And I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to undo the damage I've done. But I don't want to lose you completely. You were everything to me, Mike. You are everything to me. Tears started to well up in my eyes, but I held them back. I couldn't let myself cry, at least not yet. Not while he was still here, looking at me like I was a stranger. Mike was silent for a long time, staring at me with an expression that seemed like a mixture of anger and heartbreak. Finally, he spoke again, his voice low and firm, as though each word cost him something. I can't do this. I can't be with someone who betrayed me like this. You've destroyed everything. I can't stay here anymore, Anna. I can't live like this. His words hit me like a punch to the gut. It was over. There was no hope left. Everything I had taken for granted, everything I had thought was solid, was now shattered. I had thrown it all away. Mike turned to leave, and my world seemed to crumble around me. I wanted to say something, anything, to stop him, but the words wouldn't come. There was nothing I could say that would change his mind now. He paused at the door, his hand on the knob, and then he turned back to me. His expression was soft, almost pained, but it was too late. I hope you find what you're looking for, Anna, he said quietly. But I'm done. I can't be with you anymore. And with that, he left. I stood there, alone in the hotel room, feeling as if the ground had been pulled out from under me. The weight of everything, the guilt, the shame, the regret, crushed me. I had lost him. I had lost everything. As I stood there, trying to wrap my mind around what had just happened, I realized something. Something I had been avoiding thinking about for so long. I had made a choice. And that choice had destroyed, not only my marriage but also the person I thought I was. The woman who thought she could escape, who thought she could fix her own loneliness and hurt by seeking someone else. In the end, all I had done was hurt everyone, including myself. I had sacrificed everything for a fleeting moment of feeling wanted, and now I was left with nothing. No marriage, no trust, and no way to fix the damage I had caused. I sank to the floor, my hands over my face, and for the first time in a long while, I let myself cry. The tears were hot, bitter, and full of regret. But they couldn't change anything. They couldn't undo what had been done. All I could do now was live with the consequences of my choices, and maybe, in time, I would learn something from all of this. But for now, all I could feel was the overwhelming weight of my own mistakes, and the fact that my future, the one I had hoped for, was now uncertain. I had ruined it all, and now, all I could do was try to survive in the aftermath.